Hi guys, so I might be a bit quiet because I think some people might be walking about, but today I am doing my March book wrap up. A lot of these I am going to be like doing reviews for, or already have reviews for, so I think this might be a quick video, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, I'm going to kind of do these a little bit out of order so I can show things in clusters. Well, you'll kind of get it when I go on, even though I usually like to stick to the order of the first book I finished to the last book I finished in the month. It's going to be kind of out of sorts for this one, so hopefully it still flows relatively well. I think just for my own comfort I'm going to list down the books that I read in order in the description. I don't know, just because I'm a bit of a weirdo. Anyway, so I'm just going to group these ones together. They are the second, third and fourth books in the Vets at Hope Green series. You probably know all about it now if you've watched my review so far. I have yet to review the fourth one, but I'm going to give you just a quick, not even an overview of what it's about. I'm just going to give you my ratings for them because I have got individual reviews for all of them. Or I will be soon. So for the Vets at Hope Green Part 2, Follow Your Heart. By the way, these are all by an author called Sheila Norton. I gave 5 stars. Then for the third one, which was Part 3, Too Close to Home, I gave that also 5 stars. Sorry, I keep looking down, by the way. And then for Part 4, which is A New Start, surprise, surprise, I gave 5 stars. As I say, I do have a review going out for that one. And if I do have reviews or whatever, I'll link them either in the cards, and if the cards get too full, I'll put them in the description. So check either or all of those just to see if there's reviews for you to check out if you're interested in. So yeah, it was a really great series, and I'll speak more about my final thoughts when I review the last book. And as for actual physical books, most of the books I read were like Netgalley releases, so e-arcs that are on my tablet. But I read 4 physical books. The other one's upstairs because it's my library book, so I put it in my bag so I can remember to take back to uni and give it back, I suppose. I'm going to be reviewing all of these individually is what I'm trying to say. So To Hold the Bridge by Garth Nix, I gave a 3.5 stars. Half Lost by Sally Green, which is the last in the Half Bad trilogy, I gave a 4.5 stars. And Goldenhand, again by Garth Nix, which is the most recent, I don't know if it's the last or if he's going to bring out more, but it's the most recent novel in the Old Kingdom series, I gave a 3 stars. As I say, all of those 3 that I held up physically towards you, they will be getting their own individual reviews. The 2 Garth Nix books I might smush into one video together just because they're by the same author, and the To Hold the Bridge, I'll get that up to show you quickly. It's a collection of short stories, but one of them is a Old Kingdom short story, so it makes sense to kind of put them in a 2-in-1 kind of review video. So I think I'll do that. But yeah, they'll be getting their own review videos, that's why I'm not talking too much about them now. Oh, and I will be doing another full review on this book as well, so again, it's going to get really breezed over really quickly, just going to give you my ratings. But this is American Monsters by Derek Landy, which is the last of the Demon Road trilogy. Oh my god, I had this through Netgalley again, but I kind of kept putting it off because I didn't want it to be the end of a series. I guess I really enjoyed it, but this one got a 5 stars from me. I really did enjoy that, and as I say, I will do a full review on that too. Okay, now on to all this other stuff that I'm going to be talking about in a bit more detail. So I was in the mood for something a little bit more horror-esque. I don't really read horror, but I'm trying to, again, push out my boundaries in terms of genres. So I picked up Sarah by Teri Polen. Is that how you pronounce it? I think so, I'm not too sure. But this was a Netgalley release, so again, thank you for an e-arc of that. You know, my opinion stays the same whether I've been receiving it or I bought it myself, you know. I'm 100% honest. So this is basically following a horror fan called Kane who moves into a new home after the death of his dad. They just need to kind of get out of that area and kind of make a fresh start, which is understandable, and not be kind of plagued with bad memories living in the old house that they all lived in. So he moves away and he starts to end up getting some spooky kind of paranormal activities happening in this new house, and basically it's about a girl called Sarah who died, and she's starting to basically torment Kane and things ensue. So I ended up giving this a 2.5 stars out of 5 stars. But as usual with all my reviews, I've got the full written review on Goodreads if you're interested to read some of the things that I might not mention here. So I read this over, I think, a course of 2 days, so as you can tell it's a very quick, easy read. I don't think it's very long, so I kind of just breezed through it in that sense. I kind of like that the fact that most of the time we were following Kane at school. He's 17 years old, I believe, so it made it more realistic that yes, although there's some scary paranormal stuff happening, he's got to go to school, he's got to do his daily life. And I think that kind of enhanced the suspense and the, oh my god, when is Sarah gonna turn up and get him sort of thing, because you're following normal, ordinary people, and then that just enhances the thrill factor for me, like, oh my god, it could happen at any moment. I kind of liked that aspect. It made it a little bit more believable, I guess. The thing I didn't like in terms of the school situation was that there was just too much high school drama. I did honestly think I was coming into something a little bit more scary, a little bit more horrifying, but I didn't really get that to the extent that I was hoping for, which is strange again, because horror kind of makes me feel sick, but I actually wanted that. I wanted to feel that emotion, and I didn't really get that from this book. I also felt that the characters weren't the most developed I've ever read from, but I mean, they were decent enough to enjoy it in an aspect, I guess. Oh my god, there's one thing that really annoyed me. It's spoilers. This book, like, quite a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times over the book, mentioned something to do with Harry Potter, but they went into so much detail saying, oh yeah, so we're just reading the part to my sister about this when Harry Potter did this and this and this in this book. And I'm thinking, not everybody's read Harry Potter. Some of you guys may know that I've only just started the series. I've only read the first book so far, and this has spoiled quite a few situations for me later on in the books. Thank God for now, I've forgotten them, but you know, when it builds up to that, when I'm actually reading the book, I think I'm going to be like triggered to remember, oh crap, this is going to happen next. Even though it's one of the most spoiled series in the universe, you know, it's not nice that I felt annoyed at that in a book. I just don't think they should have gone to the extent of giving information from another book that they did. Does that make sense? I know it sounds a little bit confusing. I did write it a little bit better in the review, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. Did that make sense? I don't know. There are a few more things I do touch on in the review, but the ending does have kind of like a cliffhanger vibe to it, but to be honest, I'm just happy to leave this story here. I'm not really interested in pursuing any more if it becomes a series or anything like that. I'm just happy to leave it here. But yeah, okay, and the one that I borrowed from my uni library, which is upstairs and I forgot to bring down, is Urban Foxes by Stephen Harris, and the illustrator is Guy Troughton. I've got a headache brewing, like I've got a migraine brewing, so that's why I'm like not even trying to compose myself properly, but I did want to film this, so it makes me feel a little bit happier, but I do have a headache, so I am sorry if I'm distracted a little bit. So as the title would suggest, it is literally just about urban foxes and just their lifestyles and stuff like that. I actually feel a little bit strange giving this a 5 stars, but when I think about it, like, why shouldn't it be given a 5 stars? The illustrations were great, there was a bit of humour to it as well. It had some solid facts that I wasn't expecting. I mean, this is kind of an older book, so I was expecting things to be a bit dated, but really the only things that felt dated was when the author would say, oh yeah, recent years or a few years ago, and I'm thinking, well no, it wasn't a few years ago because that was like a while. And then certain things to do with the encouragement of feeding foxes, or like you shouldn't help them if they're injured. Like to me that's a little bit dated because I've been told different things since, if you know what I mean. And obviously I'm on an animal management course, by the way. Let me just give you a quick background. I picked this up so I could do some research into something that I'm doing for my research proposal, and I needed some more context and books and literature and stuff like that, so I picked this up, but I decided, oh actually this is quite interesting, so I decided to read it cover to cover. Really enjoyed it quite clearly. So yeah, I did find a few little kind of dated aspects to it, but to be honest, it still read really well for the time that it was like written. Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel too dated. A lot of the information was quite sound and solid, and it was just generally a good read. Okay, so there was a bit where they were talking about feces analysis, and you can tell what a fox eats from its feces by doing this particular like experiment, I suppose. And I kind of geeked out because a couple of weeks ago I actually did a similar process in the lab at uni, but it was to find out if there was any parasites in a range of species feces. So I was like really excited that I knew stuff, and I got a little bit geeky, and I think I was a little bit too proud when poo is concerned. So yeah, I had to share that with you guys. But anyway, this was a great book. I think it gives you the basic facts of fox anatomy, their lifestyles, what they eat, and honestly I feel like it just hopefully diminishes some of the negativity around them. Again, it's got something to do with my proposal that I'm doing for an assignment, but yeah, it's really good. And I realised the book that I'm currently reading now, which is another piece of literature that I wanted to include in my assignment, it's actually a companion novel for that book that I just read, and that is Country Foxes by Hugh Kolb, and they're both part of the British Natural History series, so you'll probably hear my thoughts about this for next month. So yeah, really good piece of literature if you're interested in foxes, or you just need some interesting facts. I don't know, it's a good book. Okay, and then the actual last book I read this, well, the day I'm filming it, I literally read it the day before in like maybe an hour or so. And again, this is a Netgalley read, so thank you to the publishers and author in that. And this is called Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, But You Could Have Done Better by Hillary Campbell. So this is basically just a collection of anonymous people sending in their stories about breakups, funny or otherwise, and the author is like an illustrator. She's like an artist and stuff, I think, so she just illustrates it and collects it together, if that makes sense. I gave this a 2.5 stars. I wasn't as impressed as I was hoping to be. Like, it was just okay. I needed a few laughs about this situation, even though that makes me sound like a terrible person. I don't wish like bad on anybody, but I was in a mood where I needed to laugh about that, you know. And although I did get a few giggles out of it, it was a little bit underwhelming, to be honest, and the illustrations weren't even that funny either, so it just fell a bit flat for me there. Oh yeah, also, as well as that, I noticed, I don't know if it's just like the formatting on my tablet, but like the layout of it was a little bit weird, and I've had this before, so I do think it might just be like illustrations in books come up a little bit weird on my tablet, because I know on my tablet I can't download like graphic novels and stuff, it just won't recognise the file. But this I think it can just about get away with, but it just jacks it up a little bit because the first letter of each sentence was like on a different line, if that makes sense, and like things, it was just weird, and it didn't help the fact that stories, like each individual story didn't feel different from the other. Like there wasn't a title to kind of cut it off and say, okay, this is the next story, do you know what I mean? They just kind of blurred into each other. So that plus the poor formatting, possibly my tablet's fault, it just made it kind of like an uncomfortable reading experience. But to be honest, it didn't take that long to get through. It probably took me longer than it should have because I kept getting distracted by other things, so I don't feel like I wasted time reading it. Like it was still a bit funny, you know, but yeah, I wouldn't go out my way to read it again or like buy it in physical form, because it wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be, unfortunately. But yeah, that's it for this wrap up. I believe I read like 10 books, which is crazy. I know they were all of various different lengths or pages and stuff like that, but yeah, I had a lot of reading that I did apparently, and I'm not even procrastinating because I did finish that research proposal and I finished another assignment as well. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed with what I managed to read. So let me know if you've read any books that I've mentioned, or perhaps what you've just read in general and what you thought of the books, or if you've got your own wrap-ups, feel free to link them or whatever. And I will speak to you in another video soon. Thanks for watching, bye.